When you think about a general in a war room, and then you think about a chess grandmaster hunched over a board, they seem like they're in totally different worlds. But there's this invisible line that connects them. It's this deep understanding that sometimes the most powerful, the most brilliant move you can make isn't forward, it's backward. And knowing how to do that, well, that can be the difference between total defeat and a legendary victory. So let me just ask you this. You're in a tough spot. Your back is completely against the wall, and it really looks like you're going to lose. What do you do? I think for most of us, our first instinct is to just dig in, right? To hold the line, fight to the very last. But what if that's the absolute wrong thing to do? Because here's the thing about a strategic retreat. It's not just about surviving. When you do it right, with precision, it's not a failure, not at all. It's actually a weapon. So today, we're going to break down the 3 core principles of the strategic retreat and how it turns a desperate defense into a devastating counterattack. And our first principle, well, it all starts with a really basic question that every single commander and every chess player has to answer before the fight even begins. This is all about figuring out your non-recoupable asset. It's a fancy term for something pretty simple. What's the one thing that if you lose it, it's game over? Doesn't matter what else you have on the board. If that one piece is gone, you've lost. Let's look at 1940. The entire British Expeditionary Force is trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk. They're about to be completely wiped out. The choice they had was brutal. Try to save the men or try to save all their expensive equipment. And what they did was they left almost everything behind. Tanks, artillery, trucks, just abandoned on the beach. A massive, massive material cost. So why they do it? For this number. They saved over 338,000 trained, experienced soldiers. See, you can always build new tanks. You can't just snap your fingers and create a veteran army. That was the non-recoupable asset. And the payoff here wasn't just about manpower. This act of survival, this incredible evacuation, it turned a tactical catastrophe into a huge strategic win for morale. It created what we now call the Dunkirk spirit, that resolve, that grit, that allowed Britain to stay in the war. This is just a perfect real-world example of the most fundamental rule in chess, king safety. You'll happily give up a pawn, a knight, maybe even your queen, if it means saving your king. Because when the king falls, the game's over. For Britain in 1940, that army, that was their king. Okay, so that's principle 1. But it gets better. A great retreat isn't just about saving your most important piece. It's about completely wrecking your opponent's plan. It's about taking back control. What you're really doing is messing with their head. In military strategy, they call it the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. A smart retreat just shatters that loop. It makes their observations useless, forces them to reorient. It basically sends them all the way back to square one. And that buys you critical time. All right, let's jump to another moment in history. It's the winter of 1776. George Washington's Continental Army is, well, it's falling apart. They're in full retreat, morale is totally gone, and the American Revolution is basically freezing to death in the snow. But here's the genius move. Washington didn't just retreat to save his army. He used the retreat to reposition. On Christmas night, in a freezing storm, he crosses the Delaware River and launches a complete surprise attack on Trenton. This wasn't a defensive move anymore. This was the setup for an unbelievable counterpunch that saved the entire American cause. In chess, we talk about optimizing piece activity. And sometimes, the best move for your knight isn't forward, it's backward, to a better square where it suddenly controls the whole center of the board. That's exactly what Washington did. He pulled his army back just to put it on the perfect square to deliver a checkmate. Okay, so we've saved our king, we've reset the board. Now for principle number 3. And this one might be the most counterintuitive of them all. It's about taking your enemy's biggest strength and turning it into their fatal weakness. This is what's called an elastic defense. So instead of meeting a huge attack with a rigid brick wall that's just going to shatter, you meet it with something that stretches, something that absorbs all that energy and makes the attacker punch themselves out. This is precisely what the Soviet Union did against the German Blitzkrieg in World War II. They didn't try to hold one single line. Instead, they traded away huge amounts of territory. They just let the German army pour into the country, stretching their supply lines longer and longer, and thinner and thinner and thinner. And this strategy, it has a name. It's called defense in depth. And here, the land itself becomes your weapon. Every single mile the enemy advances, they actually get weaker, while you pull back, preserving the core of your army for the one moment that really matters. And you guessed it, this is straight out of the chess playbook. It's like letting your opponent advance their pieces, making them feel like they're winning. You give up a little space, you maintain your solid pawn structure, you lure them forward until their pieces are way overextended, cut off from help, and then you strike back at their now weakened base. So let's pull all these threads together. Saving your king, resetting the board, trading space for time. What's the real point of all of this? What's the ultimate goal? Because here's the secret. The retreat is never the main event. It's the setup. It's the coiled spring. It is always the carefully calculated first move of a devastating counterattack. It's designed to hit your opponent right when they're feeling the most confident and are actually the most vulnerable. And this table just lays it out perfectly. You've got Dunkirk, which was all about saving the core fighting force. That's King's safety. You've got Washington, turning defense into pure momentum. That's dynamic counterplay. And you've got the Soviet Union, stretching enemy logistics to the breaking point. That's space concession. 3 totally different situations, but all running on the exact same strategic DNA. So, the next time you're facing a challenge, maybe it's a project at work, a negotiation, whatever, and you feel like you're losing, just ask yourself this. Are you just trying to defend? Are you just holding on? Or are you looking for a way to save your king, reset the board, and trade a little space right now so you can win the whole game later?